bin Talal, Patron of the Islamic Academy of Sciences. It is to be delivered by the representative. So I request Engineer Munif Zubi, Director of the Islamic Academy of Sciences, to read out the message.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Your Excellency, Mr. Justice Sheikh Riyad Ahmed, Acting President of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, Excellencies, eminent fellows of the Islamic Academy of Sciences, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. It is with great pleasure that I convey to you this morning the message of His Royal Highness Prince Al-Hassan ibn Talal of Jordan, founding patron of the Islamic Academy of Sciences. Quote, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, wa salatu wa salamu ala nabiyyi al-Amin, wa ala sahbihi, wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished colleagues, the topic of this important conference, Materials, Science and the Culture of Science, seems particularly appropriate for discussion in Islamabad, where so much human history lies behind the newly created city. Our thanks go to the organizers and sponsors of this conference who have brought together this distinguished gathering of thinkers at a time when the world needs new approaches. The phrase culture of science derives from Latin words which might also be interpreted as caring about knowledge. As such, it recalls the Greco-English word philosophy, the love of wisdom. Yet our advances in the culture of science do not correspond with any philosophy which allows us to understand the human heart and head. There are many clever people in our world, but sadly, few wise ones. Without some overarching principle or guide for our pursuit of knowledge, what separates a culture of science from a mere cult of technology? Knowledge for its own sake has been offered as a guiding principle. The Europe of the Enlightenment did not only separate church from state, it also separated scientific knowledge gained by empirical observation from religious or philosophical knowledge gained through personal experience and contemplation of supernatural possibilities beyond the material world. European thinkers such as Auguste Comte defined new humanitarian and scientific agenda by excluding religious thought from the field. This approach led to rapid and rewarding advances in scientific disciplines. However, we see that these advances have not solved the problems of the world. Hunger, violence, abuse of the weak, and environmental degradation. The secular culture of science, and especially advances in material science and technology, have given us the means to feed everyone, protect everyone, and live in harmony with nature. But they have not given us the will to achieve these aims, nor an understanding of why we fail to find that will. The desire to gain knowledge for its own sake is probably necessary to drive individual thinkers towards new findings. But it is not sufficient to direct those findings towards promoting the greater good and minimizing evil. Material science promises a great many further material advances for some of humankind, maybe all of us. Perhaps it is the oldest and most familiar of scientific fields. Archaeology is largely devoted to finding and studying the results of earlier industries and technologies in this field. Our constant research into the properties of ceramics, alloys, polymers, crystals, and compound materials is bound up with our earliest development as tool makers. The basics of material science are, from birth, an integral part of each human being's understanding of the world. So it deserves to be taught and learned as a discipline truly directed towards human welfare. Some people say or speak on the topic of science teaching as a subversive activity. We say that to inspire reflection and wonderment concerning creation is surely not to be regarded as a subversive activity. The Holy Quran admonishes us repeatedly to observe the variety and diversity of the world that God has created, and to seek learning and to educate others thoughtfully. Some people deliver a warning. We say that we know that we face a paradox. In defining a culture of science, we seek some higher moral order that will direct our finding towards worthy ends. It has long been the task of the religious faith and institutions to educate and preserve that higher moral order. At the same time, we cannot presume to destroy the complexity of creation and mankind in the name of reductionist religious theories which describe the richness and variety of life as perversions. No one has a monopoly upon the truth. Science and technology are activities carried out by human beings. They are full of values and value judgments. These values in turn form new fields. Bioethics and infoethics are recent examples. Scientists and technologists carry great moral responsibilities, not just religious leaders, just as religious leaders also carry great moral responsibility, not only for their co-religionists, but for all people, including those of other religions and no religion. In this context, it is worth mentioning the Conference on Health and Social Justice, which was held in Amman, Jordan, from the 1st to the 3rd of October this year, which addressed such topics as the provision of medicines to the poor, tracking of disease, interfaith perspectives on social justice, and trauma. There has never been such a great need to find the common ground between science and religion, to discover their common goals of bettering the human condition. There is a great need to develop and respect the universal code of conduct towards a global ethic of human solidarity. The United Nations Human Development Report for the Arab world is by now familiar to many of us here. The authors reported 3 critical deficits across the Arab world, which need to be addressed urgently: freedoms, women's empowerment, and knowledge. These needs were recently repeated in the Mediterranean Development Forum. We need, in the words of the UN report, rapid growth from a strong knowledge base, and that the way forward involves tackling human capabilities and knowledge. I believe that even material science has more to do with human capabilities and knowledge than it has to do with materials. Politics and economics today are not delivering justice and freedom. People are turning to religious extremism in the effort to promote changes in an unbearable status quo. Where is science? Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, the culture of science is threatened by poverty and deprivation, not least because science has not succeeded in giving us the political will to address these problems effectively. The will to tackle those problems can make a huge difference with little resources and greatly benefit future science. In Brazil, we know of the Bolsa Escola project, which successfully tackled poverty and education problems by enabling children from poorer families to go to school. 1% of the federal district budget made it possible for more than 50,000 children to attend school, about 10% of the enrolled students in the federal district, and to obtain improved academic records because of better care and nourishment. Among those 50,000, it is not likely that isn't it likely that a handful will make good scientists if their education continues? Isn't it possible that one of them will introduce a breakthrough in material science which could lead to new and better ways of life? Here in Pakistan, Tanseem Siddiqui has described new approaches to the issue of Kachi Abadis, or squatter settlements, in the cities of Karachi, Hyderabad, Sukur, and Larkana. The rejuvenation of the Sindh Kachi Abadis Authority with a simplified process of leasing, decentralization, transparency of information, and measures to make leasing affordable made the authority more workable and the lifestyle of Kachi Abadi inhabitants more regular. The authority continues to provide an invaluable service. I suggest that their success was due to the application of a truly scientific approach, observing and questioning the prescribed traditional method in order to improve conditions on the ground. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, surely the culture of science that we want, this is the culture of science that we want, not a culture of science driven by a culture of violence, in which arms spending overwhelms humanitarian assistance. Great imagination and innovation are devoted to the development and sales of weapons of mass destruction. Isn't it the task of scientists to devote just as much, if not more, energy and imagination to the promotion of the centrist ground and common human aspirations? Isn't it possible to make use of pragmatism and logical positivism? Our inheritance from Auguste Comte and his successors as scientific tools for material research, without abandoning the notion of a higher reality to which the human soul belongs. What information will new memory chips store? Will it be the traditional knowledge of indigenous peoples about plant medicines for use in developing cures for disease, or will it be gigabytes of data on every individual's movements and habits in a clampdown on the war against terror? What shapes will the new smart metals be told to record? Important parts for agricultural and irrigation machinery, or important parts for heavy weaponry? Would the mass production of Buckminster fullers deliver us new materials for cheap housing or reinforced war defenses? 2 years ago now, the chief scientific advisor to the UK government, Sir Robert May, argued in a lecture entitled Science and Politics, Melding Facts and Values that, I quote, "We need to start a new debate at the international level, listening and learning from the values of countries from North and South, East and West, and pooling scientific knowledge with a view to achieving some consensus on the problems that face us and how best they might be resolved. We have a model in the form of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, which collates the expertise of over 3,000 scientists from around 170 countries to delineate a landscape of scientific knowledge and uncertainty." End quote. As the Holy Quran exhorts us, "Let a group emerge from amongst you which calls for that which is good, orders whatever is right, and prohibits whatever is wrong." End quote. Material science holds out a great hope for the future. It is the task of scientists to make sure some of that hope is delivered. Otherwise, our culture of science will not only decay into servitude under commerce and violence, it will come into terrible conflict with other modes of knowledge and other human truths. Scientists and religious leaders alike, as human beings, can cultivate a common ethic of centrist human values, which will enable us to meet not only the material needs of people, but also their non-material needs. Thank you very much. End quote. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi.
On the agenda is the distribution of fellowship, IAS fellowship certificates to the newly elected fellows. There are 7 in number, and I will request the chief guest to kindly distribute the certificates. I'll announce the name and I will request them to come. Professor Naim Ahmed from Bosnia.